Hi, I'm Steven.
And I'm Brett.
And we are the Broadway husbands.
And on this video, we're going to tell you the things that we love about raising our child in New York City versus the things we love about raising our child in Texas. So let's go.
All right, let's just say these are in no particular order. Let's do that.
Okay.
So let's go from 5
Let's give them a little
down to
backstory
1.
first. So we both met and married here in New York City.
In 2000, well, we started dating in 2007.
And we got married here. We got engaged here.
We've lived here for a really long time.
We bought our first apartment here, and all of that stopped in 2020 when the pandemic hit. And we moved to Houston, Texas. We got pregnant by a surrogacy, and we had our son, who's now 14 months old. So we came back to New York City in February.
January. I came in January. You came in February.
In February, we were all together, and he was 10 months old.
Yes.
So we've been here now for about 4 months with our baby, and it's been eye-opening, to say the least.
An adjustment also, and also like it was still within the first year of his life, so like we are still very much trying to figure out
how to parent
and how to parent together as a couple.
And in Texas, Steven was only working 20 hours a week with his job versus his Broadway show now, which was like 80 hours a week.
Job.
I mean, it's insane. 6 days a week.
Job.
And so with all of that pretext, like,
here are the five
things we love. Okay.
5 things we love about...
The number one thing I love about...
Wait, let's go from 5 to 1.
Starting with 5. Okay. So then 5, I would say transportation.
Yes.
New York City is great for being able to just get places so you can do stuff. Because like in Texas, you got to load up the car. Everything's kind of far. So there were days where I would just not even leave really the neighborhood. And sometimes I wouldn't even see other human beings.
But that was also because we only have one car. And so if I was taking
the car somewhere, like he was so young, like packing him into the car seat and going places was just not something I wanted to do very often.
No.
So, but in New York, it's so easy. It's so easy because you just put them in a stroller. You can take them on the subway.
Yeah, or a carrier. When he first got here, he was small enough that we were constantly putting him in a carrier, and that made it super easy. And now we're, obviously branching out and using the stroller more and taking the stroller on the subway, which is like maybe not the most fun thing I've ever done, but it definitely makes it easier than carrying him the whole time.
But what's great about Texas is that if you don't want to see human beings for a while and you want to just have like more time to yourself,
you don't have to go anywhere.
It's fabulous. Like you kind of like don't have any choice in New York City but to be surrounded by people.
Yeah.
Period.
So that's number 5. Number 4, I would say is...
I don't know, you say.
I would say space. I don't even know if this is number 4. It might be a different number, but let's say it's number 4. Number 4 is space. The space in both places that we have is very different. We have a really nice sized apartment here in New York City that we're subletting, and it is a 2-bedroom, and we definitely have plenty of room. But compared to the space that we have in Texas, it was a huge adjustment to go from a much bigger house to a nice size 2-bedroom apartment, but still very much smaller than what we were used to. And
you're also paying 3 times.
Yeah.
You're paying 3 times more what we paid in Texas to live in a smaller space. So it can be a bit frustrating in New York City to when you've already experienced like a lower priced, higher elevated living experience. But again, we've also like lived in small quarters before, and so we know exactly how to make it work. And I think that we've done a really, really good job at making this space work for us. So that's number 4. Yeah.
Number 3.
I would say, kind of going back to what I was saying, is cost. Yeah. Because in New York, like I said, everything is just so much more expensive, from food to even if you want to take a cab, to the rent that we're paying. It's just so much more expensive. So you're paying for the easy access to transportation and to have these experiences that you just really can't get anywhere else. But I do kind of miss like not stressing about like if I need to like run to the grocery store and pay for something.
Totally right there.
In Texas, I didn't need to like check the bank account to do that. Like I knew we could afford it, but here I have to go, okay, let's be really careful about what we're spending here, because you just, at the end of the month,
because everything is way more pricey.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, I would say cost of New York City is definitely one of the bigger stressors, where in Texas we weren't always stressing so much about money. You know?
Yeah. So can we move on?
Yeah.
All right. So number 2, I would say community. New York City, every time you go outside the door, yes, you see all kinds of people you don't want to see, but more importantly, you always run into at least one person that you know really well.
See, I was going to make this number 1.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
The people.
Yeah, the people. Go ahead.
That's the thing that New York City is the best about.
It's like the people.
Your people are here.
They're everywhere, and you see them all the time.
We literally went to something on Monday
with Maverick,
and not knowing where we were going, and we ran into like 2 people we hadn't seen since pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun, and it was such a cool reunion, and that stuff doesn't happen anywhere else.
No. So that is a huge positive for New York City. And that those things do happen in Texas as well, but not as frequently, and it has to be a little bit more planned out.
Yeah.
And so for me, that should have been number 1, but I was going to say number 1 is access to outdoor space.
Oh yeah.
That was my number 1.
Yeah, so like in Texas we have a
Backyard.
yard. So like it's so easy to just like open the back door and go out there. We were doing that a lot, and I'm really curious to see what Maverick would be like now that he's walking. Like if he had access to that whole yard, he'd be all over the place.
Yeah.
But however, in New York, we were able to join a local community garden, which has been really cool because we actually are learning a lot about planting. We're planted vegetables and herbs, and we're meeting people.
And this will bring us back to what we were just saying.
Back to people. We're meeting people that we would never meet. Like I would never have talked to any of these people.
Awesome people that live in the neighborhood.
Different walks of life, all different kinds of careers.
Yeah.
And it's because we're in this community garden, and that would not be happening in Texas. However, we would have access to our own yard, and we wouldn't need to always. It's always like a give and take, right?
Yeah. But there is a great playground that I've actually talked to people there too. So, anyway.
The playground is pretty great.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. Anyways, so it's a give and take, but both have their pluses, and we have thrived in both places.
Yeah, it's easy to make New York City work because of the people.
Yeah.
But it's easy to make Texas work because the cost of living and the overhead is lower. So, for us, like I think the thing I missed most about New York City up until we came here was our friends and and the people that we got to see. The way I say it to people is like in Texas, a lot of the people we met, because we were in the suburbs, and most people like in Texas have never had a career on Broadway. So
you always have to explain everything.
I have to explain everything. And most of the people we know are straight. So they had kids biologically and didn't have to go through any sort of unique IVF process. And there's a few, but there's always this having to explain what we do, how we became a family. And what's great about New York City is no one really cares. And not in a good way.
In a good way, yeah.
They're like, cool, great.
They'll find out when they find out.
That's awesome. Because most people are here to have a career, some sort of creative career. They've probably seen a Broadway show maybe multiple times because they live in New York City. It's so easy to do. So there's something really nice about not having to always explain ourselves. Right. But there is also something in Texas that's really fun about people seeing how unique our careers are. And there's people,
because you forget.
People in Texas go, oh my gosh, you've done that? That's so cool. And then, and so there's people put a high value on what we've accomplished, where in New York, it feels like everyone we know has done this, right? Yeah. So it's always this sort of give and take. And honestly, the first question everyone asks us, are you in New York forever? Are you in New York? Are you back for good? And I always say, what is forever? What is for good? Who knows? Because
we're here for today.
Yeah, because nothing has to be forever if you don't want it to be. So we're open to whatever God, the universe, brings our way.
Yeah. So if you like this video, make sure you subscribe and check out some other videos.
Bye.
Bye.